Welcome back to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy, Will Royal. How you doing today, Will?
The usual. Can't really complain. Personal news here. The station I work at, we just launched our new set today. It's been in the works for almost 2 months, so it's nice to actually finally, see it in action, and it's going to be around for hopefully good 20-ish years.
It's
So
it.
and that's how long our old set was. It was built
Oh,
in the early 2000s, made it up till November. But so that's my personal news. I don't know if you have any news you want to share with people.
no, I don't have any news, man. Just sports, bro.
Still chilling in Dallas.
Yeah. Speaking of my news for sports, this kind of intertwines with the team I support, Arkansas. Garrett Riley did end up getting a job at Clemson and accepted that job, which brings it to Arkansas, where Kendall Briles leaves Arkansas for TCU. Half of the Arkansas fans are happy about it, half are mad. As the OC of Arkansas, we did have a lot of three and outs, which was not good for tempo wise for the game and for just winning games. But good luck to Kendall Briles. I know a lot of TCU fans are pissed about this hire because he is the son of Art Briles, TCU's biggest rival in Baylor. And a lot of people know what happened under his tenure at Baylor. So I know JP's pretty mad about this. So, well, do you have anything to say on this hire for TCU?
I don't just because I don't really know that much about Kendall Briles. I know about Art, and since he brought to Baylor before the whole scandal broke out.
Well,
And
Kendall was, I'm pretty sure he was the OC at
okay,
Baylor when that all was going down.
but I don't really have much on to say on the matter. But I think TCU replacing Garrett Riley was that big hole, especially this offseason. Obviously, there's a lot of on-field stuff like who's going to replace Max Duggan, who's going to replace Quentin Johnston at wide receiver one. But I think OC, I think that was like that big hole coaching staff wise. So I think it'll work out.
Yeah. Well, I know. Oh, wait, before I go to yours, for offensive coordinators to replace Kendall Briles at Arkansas, one of my guys that I've looked at for someone to replace him is Dan Mullins. I know he didn't have a great time at Florida, but Mississippi State Dan Mullins would be perfect with KJ Jefferson. I feel like he's a great quarterback coach slash offensive coordinator, and he would be great for Arkansas when it came for the style we want to run and for KJ's development going into the NFL. But that's someone I would like. I know a lot of Arkansas fans like, do you not remember what happened at Florida? That he was the head coach there. He would just be offensive coordinator here, but who knows? But Will, your boys down there in Tuscaloosa got rid of a guy that you wanted to get rid of.
Not the main one I wanted to get rid of, unfortunately. As of now, he's still the offensive coordinator, talking about Bill O'Brien. But rumors are getting stronger each day of him going back up to New England, taking the OC job up there. I know you don't look thrilled about that.
Hmm.
But we did actually lose another coordinator that towards the end of his tenure, I was not a fan of just because defensively we didn't look good. And that is Pete Golding. He has taken the job at Ole Miss, which kind of came out of left field, in my opinion. That Ole Miss would fire their defense coordinator and bring in Pete Golding. But if you look back at the last 2, 3 years, especially the game that we went to in Oxford 2020, we could not stop Ole Miss. They were essentially scoring on every drive in the first half. They put 40 points up on us. You had Tennessee who put up 50 points on us this year. We had LSU, obviously. Well, that was more of a Bill O'Brien mistakes than us, but we we did lose on the last second of that game as well. There were some games where we just struggled defensively. Will Anderson didn't even look like himself this year, but somehow still won Defensive Player of the Year. and is going to be a top 3 draft pick, I think.
Yeah.
But Pete Golden is gone, and his mugshot lives in infamy with our community. You have anything to say on Golding? If you knew anything?
No, I don't really pay attention to the coordinator situation for y'all. Um, so I'm just getting it from you. I guess it's great for y'all to get rid of him. Y'all did lose more games that y'all than y'all have in the past, what, 10 years, 15 years with
Well,
him.
we lost 2 games in 2019, but this is the first time we lost multiple games before the Iron Bowl since
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah, so it's a little different down there in Tuscaloosa since he's been the offensive coordinator. Which was he the offensive coordinator in 2019?
You mean the defensive coordinator?
Oh yeah, my defensive coordinator, my bad.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so you might be cutting off some dead weight with him going to Ole Miss. I'm excited to see who y'all hire as y'all's defensive coordinator while he leaves, and if Bill O'Brien leaves, who's your offensive coordinator. So let's look out for Alabama for new coaching hires. I feel like it won't be hard to find one for y'all in the short period of time that y'all have. So, Will, who do you want to bring in for the Alabama DC job?
So rumors are that we brought in Southern Miss's defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong. I don't know. He's as of now just on the staff. But if I wanted to name a DC, obviously it's kind of hard to pick a DC just because you don't really see that many. But right now, I think like the main one most Alabama fans want is Glenn Schumann from Georgia, which would be interesting to see. You know, back-to-back defending champions. Even though they lost their defensive coordinator last year, Dan Lanning took the Oregon job, and now you have Glenn Schumann, a perfect 15 of the season, and possibly have him go up to Georgia's biggest competitor in Alabama. But I think that would be a good hire. I'm trying to think of like if there are any. I mean, in a perfect world, I would say Brandon Staley, but the Chargers surprisingly didn't fire him. But I mean, we're still a long ways out from spring football, so
Yeah, so
we'll figure out
yeah,
something.
I feel like both of our teams will get that all good and dusted before spring football. Let's talk about Alabama basketball, Will.
So much fun it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in a sarcastic sense, but this Alabama team is something special. Currently the number 4 team in the country. We're going to move up because of Kansas losing. We'll talk about that later in the episode. But the 2 games I want to talk about is, or the game I really want to talk about, yesterday we beat Vanderbilt. Brandon Miller put up 30 points, but that's not the game I want to talk about. It is the one on Saturday where LSU came into Coleman Coliseum. And let's just say we got a revenge for what happened in November in Baton Rouge.
Do you remember November?
To put it in context, we were up 59-22 at halftime, and we ended up winning 106-66. And of course, the star of the show, Brandon Miller, had 31 that day. He went 11 for 16 from the floor and 7 for 11 beyond the arc. But also shout out Jalen Bradley for draining a half-court shot at the end of the first half, one-handed too. But yeah, LSU they didn't have a good start of the season, but now they're currently sitting 1-4 in SEC play.
Yeah. I tried to watch this game. Then I looked at the score for I probably watched the game for like a good 5 minutes. I looked down at the score. I was like, "Ain't no way I'm watching this," and so I did not watch this game at all. Will, as an Alabama fan, I don't know how you watched this game in its whole entirety, but kudos to you. But there is something else going down in Tuscaloosa when it comes to Alabama basketball. Darius Miles got not convicted, charged with capital murder
Mm-hmm.
for a shooting in the I don't know what y'all little strip called.
The strip. It was a street right off the strip, which is like where all the bars are in Tuscaloosa, right before you get downtown. And yeah, so the story is because I've had to report on it a couple of times at my station. Story is that there was like a small altercation between possibly Miles and another individual. Name was Michael Davis, and one thing led to another. And then about 1:45 in the morning Sunday night, they did a drive by, and a 23-year-old woman who was with a child, child wasn't hurt, but the woman was shot and killed.
Yeah,
So Sunday night, video surfaced of Miles and this other individual essentially leaving courthouse in Tuscaloosa and getting thrown into the cop car. Since then, University of Con said he's no longer a member of the basketball team. He's no longer a student at the campus. Coach Nate Oates has come forward and said, yeah, like we're talking as a team, looking out for each other. And this was yesterday too, but I think this was yesterday. That turns out that Miles wasn't the one that pulled the trigger, but it was his gun, which most likely was illegally obtained. So, and keep in mind, this kid's only 21 years old. Day before he got essentially benched for the rest of the remainder of the season with an ankle injury, although he wasn't that much of a difference maker. He was averaging, a couple minutes a game, just under 2 points per game at that point as well, not just this season, but majority of his career. So it will be interesting to see what goes down see what he's actually charged with, if is capital murder, if it's not. But obviously he did have a part in this, and it is sad to see, someone as young as Miles and possibly had a promising career just go off and do something stupid. And yeah, it is a sad story. Thoughts and prayers go to the family of the victim, and everyone in Tuscaloosa stay safe, because I do know people who live about 1 or 2 blocks away from where the shooting happened on the strip.
yeah,
So they weren't home; they were out of town, luckily. But still, a scary thing to think about, that like this happened in a place that like you're supposed to be safe in.
yeah. It is sad to hear. Yeah, thoughts and prayers out to the lady's family. And hopefully the kid's not like traumatized for life, and they can live a normal life. But yeah, this is a crazy out of the blue thing that happened in college sports, and it's our job to report and tell people about it, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty hard to hear something like this happen to a child. And I don't know if was it his mother or his or her mother or
Yeah,
aunt.
I mean, the child was probably like not even a year old, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
it does leave, regardless of how Alabama does the season, if we win the whole thing, make the Final Four, or we get bounced in the first round of the tournament, like that is going to be a part of it as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's going to be like that stain on the season, regardless of how well we are right now. Because we're this is the best Alabama team in years since like 2002, and
Mhm.
it's um
Well, that team, what, a few years ago, what, 2 years ago? That team was,
yeah, but like the early years, early 2000, that was a good Bama team. That was the furthest they made in the tournament. In 2004, they made the Elite Eight. But we're gonna look back on the season and look at that asterisk on it because of what Derek Miles did.
yeah. Speaking of Elite Eight teams, let's get to my Elite Eight team.
Interesting transition.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong. They didn't make it to the Elite Eight the last 2 years.
yeah. Um, Arkansas. We played Vandy Saturday, and probably the most eventful game of that weekend. The first half was so long. Seven was it 7 or 5 technical fouls were called in the first half.
More like the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, 3 in the last 2 minutes. and we ended up shooting what seven? No, it was five technical fouls, and we shot seven free throws.
Yeah.
One for and one, and six of them were from the technical foul. We went out the first half up, I think, I wouldn't say 20, like 15 or something like that. Then come back, and Vandy just flipped the switch and just came back and scoring everything. The rest were calling every tic tac foul. That game was very difficult to watch as an Arkansas fan because you're you're playing decent. You're actually hitting threes as a team, and when you try to come back, a foul stops the momentum, and Vandy's shooting free throws. Arkansas lost 97-83. Will wasn't actually watching this game until I texted him about the game, and as soon
Yeah.
as
Sorry, I was doing adulting things.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well tell me, well, tell the viewers what happened when you, like, literally the first thing that you saw when you start watching the game.
Yeah, like so I was out running errands. I get home and I see Bryce is, miss FaceTime. I call him back, like turn on the Arkansas game, and there was a lot of shoving. And before even that could get out of the way, someone brought out a stretcher on the court because I still don't know. Was it a fan? Was it a photographer? Like, but someone like fell over and did something.
Yeah. Um I'm pretty sure it was like a photographer, if I'm not mistaken. Like someone on the side of the sideline got
Yeah,
knocked down or whatever.
but I don't even know what else to say about that game.
Yeah, that game was just crazy all around. Oh yeah, I forgot to put this game on our little script. But the Memphis game, Will, Memphis versus Temple. I know I didn't get to watch the game. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah,
think I was in Fort Worth.
I was at work, so I couldn't watch it either.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't in Fort Worth. I was doing a lot of doing a lot of things on that Sunday. But Memphis wins on a game winning, was it three or
It was
two? I
a
think I
it
was
was
in
a
the
three.
corner. Yeah, three by Kendrick Davis. He's making a good run for the Naismith Player of the Year so far, Will.
Yeah, a lot of people were definitely pointing to him to win the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year back to back since he won that at SMU last year. You could make a case for Naismith. I still think Zach Edey is probably has the best chance out of Purdue, but we're still in January. We still have a good solid 5 weeks left of the regular season before we start getting into the conference playoffs. So, but right now I still think it's Edey. You can make a case for Kendrick Davis.
Brandon Miller.
Also, biased part of me wants Brandon Miller there just because he's leading the country in scoring as a freshman. So
Yeah. Um, for right now, that's it for basketball talk for the next few ones.
yeah,
Colorado just dropped their schedule, Will, and you had a comment that you texted me for
yeah.
what
I'm gonna pull it up real quick just because I don't have my phone on me. But Pac-12 did come out with their conference schedule today. And obviously, the one everyone is jumping to is Colorado because of Deion and what he's doing. And they have a pretty good schedule, I think. Just looking at it, non-conference wise, absolutely. They have, they begin the season with three conference games just because most of these conferences do 9 games, as opposed to SC does 8, and that's why a lot of people are pointing at Georgia for having a weak schedule next year.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens when Texas and Oklahoma join. But I do have it pulled up, and I'm going to give you my rundown of the 12-game schedule, and you can tell me what you think. But I said in my comment when you sent me that, I'm saying they're going 7-5. Obviously, there's still a whole lot left to be made. They are looking at the number one cornerback, whose name I'm blanking on, but he was a Florida. Now he's Florida or Miami, but there's a lot of rumors of him flipping to Colorado now. Him and Travis Jackson, and that's it, right?
Travis Hunter.
It's been a long day. Him and Travis Hunter as a secondary would be filthy. So I'm going to give you a rundown of what I think is going to happen. First game up, September 2nd. They are traveling to Fort Worth to take on the defending runner-up TCU. I think TCU is winning that game. It's a home game, and they have the fans supporting them after what happened against Georgia. So I think that's going to be it. Next game up, Nebraska hosting in Boulder. Matt Rule, who just got hired, I think he is going to bring in a good program, but I still think Nebraska is still like 2 or 3 years out from being good again. So I'm giving Colorado the benefit on this one. Colorado State, no offense to my coworkers who go there, but they're trash. But so CS or Colorado takes one. First conference game, they're traveling to Oregon. I think Oregon is winning this one. So right now we have them at 2-2. USC, again, you have the reigning Heisman winner, Caleb Williams. Even though it isn't in Boulder, I'm still taking USC. Up next, Arizona State, first-year coach. I'm taking Colorado. Stanford, awful. They just let David Shaw go. And they bring in the coach from Sacramento State of all teams. So I'm giving the edge to Colorado. Off on the October 21st, then they're going to the Rose Bowl against UCLA. I think Colorado will beat them. So I think we're now at 3. Wait, hold on, let me do my math.
Yeah, 5-2.
One. Wait,
No,
one.
no, no, 5 and
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5-3.
5-3.
And then no, wait, yeah, 5-3. Oregon State, even with this new offense, I still think Colorado takes it. No, wait, no, what am I saying? I think Oregon State is gonna.
I was about to say, are you sure about that?
I'm not changing plans. I'm taking Oregon State in this one. Arizona, they're coming back from being one of the worst teams. I've still taken Colorado, so we're now at 6-4. Travel to Washington State. They've had progress. I'll give them that, but I still think in Washington, even in Pullman, I'm going to take Colorado. And then they close the season traveling to Salt Lake City to take on Utah, a really strong Utah team with Cam Rising coming back. They're going to drop that game, so that is my 7-5.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot.
Hearing you pick that schedule is the TCU game. It's a toss-up for me. I feel like that's a trap game for TCU. And TCU doesn't know their quarterback at the moment. Jackson State knows their quarterback, even though he will be in a new system, new targets. They did do a great job on the transfer portal, like literally fantastic job. They're probably number 1 at the moment. I feel like their defense will be good just because Deion's known for having good defense, even though he's an offensive-minded coach. Most people don't know that, but at Jackson State, he had probably the past 2 years, he had the best defense in the FCS. So TCU game is really a toss-up for me. You can choose either way. Nebraska, I think Nebraska's trash. They're not winning that game. Colorado State, same, trash. Oregon, that's a tough game. I'm gonna give it to Oregon. They get Bo Nix back. Bo Nix, in like his 5th season. I feel like he should be fine. South Carolina. I mean, not South Carolina. That's the other USC. My bad. Southern California, the Trojans. I'm gonna have to give it to them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lose. We did see them lose to Tulane in the bowl game. If I'm not Jackson State, Colorado can keep up the score with the reigning Heisman winner and Caleb Williams, I can see Colorado winning. This is all dependent on. This is basically me thinking a better version of Jackson State in a weaker type of conference in the Power 5. So I'm gonna give that a toss up. Arizona State. I don't really know much about Arizona State, but I know they hadn't been good in the past few years, especially the way that they got rid of Herm Edwards. So I'm praying on their downfall for that. Um, Stanford. Stanford hadn't been good since we were in like middle school. Will you know about that?
Yeah,
Um, UCLA is DTR coming back?
I believe so.
Yeah. So and DTR and Chip Kelly. UCLA had a great um regular season in the UCLA like past few years stands. So I'm gonna go UCLA. Oregon State going Oregon State just because they get a legitimate quarterback and their team was already young. I feel like Oregon State could actually win the Pac-12 next year. That's my surprise pick for next year. Once we do the Pac-12 preview at the beginning of the year, like we did for um, this year, which is I'm pretty sure the Pac-12 preview is our most viewed video in our of our
On the
podcast,
channel.
which is weird. Out of all conferences, Pac-12 preview is
Yeah.
Arizona. I'm gonna take Colorado with that one. Wazoo, I'm gonna take Colorado, and Utah, I'm gonna take Utah. So yeah, they have a pretty strong schedule. When it comes to the big teams in the Pac-12, and their non-conference is really good too. When it comes to TCU, Nebraska is technically a big game, but we'll see when that happens. So yeah, they just have three non-conference games at the beginning, and the rest is conference games. So I'm actually looking forward to Coach Prime and the Buffs, see how they play. Let's go to this next one, Will.
Yeah. So earlier today, it was announced that five-star class 2023 quarterback Jaden Rashada is leaving Florida, and it's an interesting reason why. Well, because in this new generation of recruiting, because his $13 million NIL deal fell through at the last minute, so he is pulling out. I did my research on him, and he is now crystal ball to in-state rivals Miami because Miami has the money.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that like NIL hasn't even been a thing for a full 2 years, and already it's become the leverage of recruiting. Like look at Texas A&M. They had the number one recruiting class this past year. Their product didn't really translate onto the field. They went 5-7, and almost all of them just jumped into the portal immediately after the season ended. So, do I think NIL is ruining for like college sports? Kind of, but it does make it more of like a bargaining, more of a sort of a, like what we see in soccer, the bidding wars for all these top players. Like I know you don't watch soccer, but this past week, Arsenal was going after this Ukrainian player. They were going to throw almost 90 million euros at him, and then Chelsea came in through 100 million. And
Yeah, I don't watch soccer that much. I know about probably the bigger deals, but yeah, this is crazy. I feel like it is bringing parity, like your coach loves to say, to college football because what TCU just made it to the national championship. Who would have thought? Like no one would have thought about that in a while. I know Georgia just won back to back, but still, like Georgia, even though they have been like big dogs in the college football, they they hadn't been much when it comes to making national championships before the playoffs started. So I like seeing different teams in playoffs. We just saw Ohio State, Michigan also. And I feel like NIL is going to come with good and bad. Like some schools that suck, but they're in a high market with high boosters, like rich boosters. They're going to jump up to be better teams, um, like Texas A&M, which they've been a consistent football program, but now since they have money, they can get a lot of the top players. I like UCLA. I feel like they could end up becoming one of those big name teams just because they're not big market work in LA. but they haven't really been a good football school and who knows how long. So even though this situation is crazy, I don't mind NIL as much. Um, $13 million deal is crazy not to go through. Well, I don't know why you would give a high school kid $13 million. Literally, high school kids don't even make that much coming straight to the NBA or the G League at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is crazy to me. And well, we kind of saw something like this, but he's actually going to the school. Tennessee's quarterback, freshman quarterback, I'm pretty sure his deal's like 8 mil or something like that. Will so
Yeah, it's up there.
yeah, so I'm not really surprised that he would leave Florida because his deal didn't go through. I feel like kids now are built like that. They don't really care about the school. They just care about the money. It could be the death of sports as we know it, just being business and not about the actual game. But who knows? I don't mind people getting paid money they think they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to this next topic. Let's jump back into basketball. Kentucky versus Tennessee, which was a great game. I'm pretty sure I watched the second half of it before the Arkansas game came on Saturday. Kentucky, just when I thought they were trash, they beat a top 10 team in the nation. Speaking of top 25 ranked teams, 10 ranked teams lost Saturday, Will.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
great.
Yeah, it was a crazy Saturday for college basketball. Kentucky and this Tennessee game, it was a low scoring games when it comes to college basketball. It was 63 to 56. Kentucky showed that they have some type of dog in them. Honestly, I thought um, Kentucky would probably lose this game. I'm actually glad Kentucky won because I hate when Tennessee wins in basketball. The Tennessee fans, for some reason, they just think they're great at everything. They're literally not even a basketball school. They're literally a football school, and their football's been piss poor until this year. And don't get me started with baseball. Don't get me started with that.
We'll,
I'm a
we'll talk about baseball for a hot second at the end.
Yeah, don't get me started with that. But Kentucky won. Coach Cal, I guess he's still on the hot seat, but not really because he just signed what was that, last year or 2 years ago? He signed a lifetime deal with Kentucky. I feel
Yeah.
like he wants to leave Kentucky because that Texas job just opened up. I've been talking to JP about this, but who knows? Well, how did you feel about this game?
I watched a little. Watched like most of the second half of this game, and it looked like Kentucky was going to pull it off from when I started watching up until the end. Oscar Tshiebwe did have a double-double, 15 points, 13 rebounds. So it's still a case of why he's the defending Naismith winner. But Kentucky has struggled throughout most of the season, and this I think was a big win. I'm trying to keep this brief because I know you want to watch Arkansas who's playing right now.
No, you're
Uh,
good.
but Kentucky going forward, I think if they have more games like this, they could end up with a first round bye in terms of SEC playoffs. But they're as of now, they're just about 500 in the conference. We still have a long way to go.
Yeah. We'll take us with this next one, man.
Yeah, so this game also happened last night, and probably one of the craziest games I've seen. A game that went to overtime, and that is Kansas. They're number one, right now?
No, two.
Number two.
Oh,
Number two, oh yeah, because Houston's one. Number two, Kansas traveling to Manhattan and losing to their little brother K State by one. I didn't watch this game because Bama was on at the same time, so I don't really know what went down. But if I can pull up the stats right here, give me a second.
no, this wasn't. Was it Saturday? No, this
Well,
was
this was last night.
Oh yeah, last. Oh yeah, my bad. I was
Yeah,
thinking that you're talking about on Saturday, but yeah,
yeah. Saturday they came off of a almost losing to Iowa State. They won by 2.
yeah. And Kansas State lost to TCU.
Yeah. Here we go. Hope these ones to work. But Kansas, as a defending national champion, I really don't know, but really don't know what to make of them. But I mean, obviously, it's still very early on. This was their first loss, but let's talk for a second about. There, it's finally starting to load. Uh, yeah, let's talk about Jalen Wilson for a hot second because he dropped 38 points in this game.
Yeah,
Almost had a double double. He had 9 rebounds, but yeah, he popped off. But he wasn't the only. I didn't. Okay, I'm just looking at the stats now. I didn't realize he went off as well. Coming off the bench for K State is Desi Seals, and
ex,
he dropped 20.
yeah,
What?
ex Arkansas player.
Yeah, he dropped
Transfer.
24 off the bench.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he had that much last night.
yeah.
That's
I'm glad to see the Jonesboro, Arkansas native getting some shine at K State. This is a third, well, technically fourth team that he transferred to. After Arkansas, he transferred to Auburn briefly before quickly transferring to Arkansas State. Balled out there, transferred to K State, and now he's he would most likely either be the sixth man or end up in the starting lineup. But I feel like he will be a crucial part of K State's team, which is ranked in the most likely will be ranked in the top 10 when it comes to next week's rankings, depending
yeah,
on how they play this weekend. But yeah, it's good to see one of my fellow Arkansas Kansans doing good, man.
yeah. Just looking at the stats, K State's front court went off as you had Keontae Johnson almost have a double double. He dropped 24 points, 8 rebounds. You had Naquan Tomlin, who had a double double, 15 points, 10 rebounds. K State, right now, they're sitting 13th. They're definitely moving in the top 10 after this week. I don't know who they play this weekend, but this is going to be a team like look out for in March, I think. They're probably going to end up being like a 3 or 4 seed at this rate.
Yeah,
I think if they do really well in the Big 12 championship, in the Big 12 tournament, they could make a case as a 2 seed. So,
yeah. Hey, Big 12's looking good in basketball. Well, they usually look pretty decent in basketball every year, just
yeah.
because Texas and Kansas. But yeah, let's get a little baseball in because we are eventually going to talk about baseball when it comes down to the end of March or to April, basically.
Yeah.
Um, seven SEC teams are in the top 10 and for the rankings. Baseball rankings are kind of weird. It's kind of like a composite of 5 different websites. So let me read off the teams. You got number 1, you have LSU, who's historically a great baseball school. Have number 2, you have Tennessee, who literally hadn't been good at baseball in their career until like the 2 years ago. Number 4, you have defending champs, Ole Miss Rebels. You have number 5, Texas A&M Aggies, which is weird because Texas A&M, they're pretty decent at baseball, but not like the cream of the crop. You have number
Right.
7, Florida Gators, who's a pretty sound baseball program. You have number 8, my Arkansas Razorbacks, who you
The
literally,
Omaha Hogs.
yeah, literally one of the best baseball schools for the past like this century. Then you have, I call them probably the most overrated baseball school in the nation. At number 10, you have the Vanderbilt Commodores. We don't like Vanderbilt over here. Then you have your team, Will, at number 20, and you have a great baseball, well, historically a great baseball school at number 23, South Carolina Gamecocks.
So that's 9 schools in the top 25. And we're not even counting the team that won 2 years ago, Mississippi State. They didn't even crack the top 25.
Yeah. They kind of fell off a cliff. Well, I wouldn't say fell off a cliff, but they had kind of fell off. When it comes to baseball and comes to the SEC, the team that wins the SEC tournament for the past 2 years somehow hadn't made Omaha. Um, you have last year you have Tennessee winning the SEC tournament, had a great sound team, could hit the ball, had great pitching. And I forgot who exactly they lost to. I'm kind of blanking right now who they lost to. But the year before, you have Arkansas, who was literally the favorite to win the national championship, #1 overall seed in baseball, same as Tennessee last year. With this, literally, Arkansas and Tennessee are kind of built the same as a program, just because Tennessee's head coach is an ex-Arkansas assistant. Um, but that Arkansas team ended up falling to North Carolina State, if I'm not mistaken, and really let a whole bunch of people down, like Dave Portnoy, who who was betting on college baseball and bought all this Arkansas gear for them to get knocked down and not go to Omaha. I remember that. But the SEC has ruled the national championship for baseball, what, the past 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. I know Vanderbilt won pretty recently. I don't know if it was 3 years
It was
ago or
2019 because there wasn't one in 2020.
yeah, so it was the past 3 years. The SEC has won the national championship. You have the Mississippi schools winning the last two, and then you have Vanderbilt winning the 2019 one. So I'm actually excited for baseball to start. They are having a showcase for Big 12 and SEC at Globe Life, where most of the teams that we named will be there. Well, not most of the teams, a good amount of them. I'm pretty sure. I know Arkansas is going, Vandy's going. I want to say Missouri, if I'm not mistaken, and some of the like bigger Texas teams, like or the Texas Southwest, Southeast area with Texas, Oklahoma, and TCU. They'll be there. So I'm excited for that. I'm most likely going with JP and his family. And this will be the first time I'll be able to go to that because I missed out last year. But yeah, will you have anything to say about baseball? I know you're.
I don't really know much. Yeah, I don't really know that much about college baseball. It's gonna be something I'm trying to pick up, hopefully, especially because I'm now living in the state where the last two national champions were from. So hopefully it'll be them. And also Southern Miss, they're a good program too. They're not that far from here.
Yeah, they are a pretty good program, if I'm not mistaken. I really picked up college baseball probably like 5 years ago. It's actually fun to watch, honestly. I feel like it's more exciting than Major League Baseball when it comes to like actual watching the games. But there's not really any big names when you actually watch college baseball. It's mostly teams. So, will you have anything else for us before we wrap it up?
I think we covered all we needed to today.
All right. Thank y'all guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn the post notification on. And see y'all tomorrow. Deuces.